Hello and welcome to our video on production methods. There are many different types of production methods including batch, flow, cell, lean and job. The one we prefer is batch and we will talk about this more in depth, but here you'll get a brief overview of all the different production methods previously mentioned.
The first production method I want to talk about is flow production. Basically what happens in flow production is the goods go along on like a conveyor belt kind of stage, where on each different stage a different process happens. The only problem is there's quite easy mistakes. The people can mess up on certain stages, machinery can mess up on certain stages, and there's not much teamwork, to be honest. A cell production, like a type of production method, what happens is there's groups of employees put in the teams basically to try and put the goods together, and they all do different jobs, and the chances are there's not going to be any sort of errors when they're doing it this way. Lean production is the process that used to add value to a product without using many resources. The idea is to use as least resources as possible and also to reduce all the wastage that normal production methods cause. Job production is quite similar to lean but not at the same time. Job production is a one-off production where basically it's created uniquely to the client's needs. For example, a lot of places do wedding cakes which are unique, do wedding dresses and normal dresses which are unique. And the last one, batch production, which we favour the most, which we'll talk about more in depth later, is where all the same product is produced at once in mass quantities. And normally like stuff like moulds are used for this, where you can just create the same product at very little cost with very little wastage. And normally machinery uses it, so it's very little error as well.
Batch production is a technique used in manufacturing in which the product in question is created stage by stage over a series of workstations. It means that a specific product is made, and until that product is then finished, the factory or the production line will not go on to make a new product until that one is completely finished. There's a few sample products of batch production that we came up with, like furniture, electrical goods, clothing, newspapers, books and sample products in general. Batch production is most common though in bakeries and in the manufacturing of sport shoes, pharmaceutical ingredients, purifying water, inks, paints and adhesives. In the manufacturing of paint and inks, for example, a technique called a colour run is used. A colour run is where one manufactures the lightest colour first, such as a light yellow, and then follows increasingly darker colours, such as orange, then red, until eventually reaching black, and then this would start over again. Some of the characteristics of a batch production include a production line is set up. Each worker completes one task and passing down the production line to the next worker. The workers are semi-skilled or unskilled. The workers must be able to switch from one part of the production line to another. They are called the flexible workforce. The production line can be changed quickly so that different products can be made. Often, individual parts of the product are bought from other companies and assembled on the production line. The production lines run for a certain amount of time and then the product is changed. Some of the benefits and drawbacks. One of the benefits is that reduced initial capital outlay. So to begin with, there is not a lot of capital investment needed to set up the production line. Another is that it's useful in seasonal product production for things like hats, gloves, flip-flops, coats. A drawback, however, is though the inefficiencies with having to stop machinery so that they can be configured again to then make a new product. So for example, if you were making flip-flops in the summer, you then may need to go on to making winter boots, which then will require the machineries to be reconfigured, the machines to be reconfigured. Another drawback is the excessive downtime spent idle between batches, and this can result in a poor cash flow for a business because there's no production occurring at that time. and then this can be extended for a long period of time, so there's not a lot of actual money coming in and out of the business. So we're next going to introduce the implications of changing from one production method to another. So if you decided to change from batch production to flow production, you may experience that the reduced staff motivation as the products that they are producing never seem to end. As with batch, there is a set limit to how many they need to produce and to fulfill a certain specific order. Although flow production can be quicker, as with time-saving techniques can be learned on the job, which can increase production efficiency.
If you decide to change from batch production to cell production, it may be both quite good and quite bad. In cell production, teamwork is quite necessary. There are a lot of small working stations which produce different components to the final product. This increases morale between workers, as well as fewer mistakes, meaning reduced wastage. The only problem is if employees don't get along with each other, there's a very much a lack of communication. And in business, if there's lack of communication, it means the final product is not going to be anything as what it could be.
So if you want to switch from batch to lean production, you might experience waste reducing dramatically, and so total costs can be reduced, which can then mean that extra profit that is retained can be pumped back into research and development to add extra value to the product, and thus you could consequently justify an increased retail price to the consumer because the product is of a higher quality and is worth more. However, extra training costs might be incurred as the demands of this type of production require employees to be well trained in efficiency.
If you want to change from batch to job production, it can be both good and bad again. With job production, a single one-off products which are created to the client's needs and very unique to the client. The chances are the one-off products are a lot more expensive than the replicas from batch production. Therefore, the company in the short run will make a lot more revenue, probably not in the long run though. The customer loyalty is also a big factor with job production. If you're making a product that's very unique to the customer, the chances are they're going to try and use your service again. The only problem with job production is that it's a lot more expensive to create specialised items than replicas. But with replicas, you can have a mould, for example, where it costs a lot.
Thanks for listening to our video on production methods. Thank you.